I used to believe that love meant staying, no matter how hard things got. Until one day he looked me in the eyes and said he needed to live in the moment. Then he walked out just like that. No fight. No apology. No explanation. I stood in the doorway frozen. Our kids were still eating breakfast. The eggs were getting cold. And I was breaking inside. What does that even mean, live in the moment? What moment was he chasing that didn't include the family we built together? I wanted to scream. But I couldn't. Because I had to hold it together for them. People always say, you'll see the signs before it falls apart. But I didn't. Or maybe I just didn't want to. Because the truth was too ugly to look at head on. He was my husband. The man I loved for 11 years. The father of my children. My safe place, or so I thought. But safety is an illusion when someone's heart has already left the room long before their body does. He didn't pack a bag. He didn't kiss the kids goodbye. He just left. And I did what I always do. I cleaned up the mess. I smiled for the kids. I made dinner. I tucked them in. I lied through my teeth when they asked, "Where's Daddy?" And when they finally fell asleep, I fell apart. It was in that silence, the brutal, echoing silence, that I realized something. He may have left to live in the moment, but I was the one holding time still. For them. For us. For a family he was willing to abandon like it meant nothing. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because sometimes, the people who leave without warning forget something. The storm doesn't really start when they walk out. It starts when we finally stop pretending we're okay. And I was done pretending. My name is Ariba, 36 years old. Mother of 2. Wife well, used to be. And until that morning, I believed I had a life most women prayed for. I met Zion when I was 23. I was fresh out of university, full of dreams, and still carrying the scent of hope on my skin. He was magnetic, charming in that quiet, confident way that makes you lean in just a little closer when he speaks. He didn't chase the room. The room fell silent around him. And somehow, I fell right in the middle of that silence. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. He made me laugh when I was moody. I grounded him when he got too lost in his own head. For 11 years, we built a life. A home. Not a mansion, just a 2-bedroom house filled with soft chaos. Lego pieces on the floor. Crayon drawings on the fridge. Mornings that smelled like cinnamon toast and half-drunk coffee. Nights that ended with us tangled on the couch, too tired to finish a movie but too in love to let go. And our kids, Amal and Denial, were the glue in our every crack. Amal's laugh could erase the worst day. Denial's little hand in mine? That was heaven in this world. I wasn't just Zion's wife. I was his person, his sounding board, his safe space. At least I thought I was. He had this phrase he always used, "We're a team, always you and me." It was silly, but I believed in that line more than anything. I clung to it like a lifeline when work got too much, when bills piled up, when the kids were sick and sleep-deprived nights turned into snapping arguments and apology breakfasts. Marriage isn't easy. I knew that. But we had us. And I thought US was unbreakable. Looking back now, there were cracks. The late nights at the office that turned into weekends. The increasing silence at dinner. The way his eyes started drifting somewhere else. But I told myself it was just a phase. Stress. Fatigue. He never shouted. Never hit. Never cheated at least not that I knew. And when someone doesn't destroy you, you don't realize they're erasing you. He never hurt me, he just slowly disappeared. One smile at a time. One skipped kiss. One unanswered, "How was your day?" I was too busy juggling motherhood, household, and part-time freelance work to really see what was happening. But now that I'm standing here in the aftermath, I realize he started letting go long before he actually walked away. And the worst part? I didn't see it. I didn't want to. Because I loved him. And when you love someone deeply, you create excuses for their absence. You translate their silence into stress. You rewrite their distance into space. I never imagined he'd just leave without warning. No note. No fight. Just that one chilling line, "I want to live in the moment, Ariba." What moment? What life? What about us? People say you should know your partner better than anyone. But now I realize I was holding on to a version of Zayen that only existed in my memory. The real Zayen, the one who left, was a stranger. And me? I'm the woman trying to piece together what happened, while holding the hands of two little hearts too young to understand why their father no longer tucks them in at night. It started with a receipt, not a lipstick stain, not a perfume smell, not even a suspicious phone call. Just a folded piece of paper I'd found in his jeans while doing laundry. I wasn't snooping. I never did. But that day, I was in a rush, kids fighting, phone buzzing, and laundry overflowing, so I reached into his pocket without thinking. And there it was. A receipt from Orem. Orem wasn't just a restaurant. It was the restaurant. The kind of place you make reservations weeks in advance for. Elegant. Romantic. Intimate. I stared at the date. 2 weeks ago. A Thursday. I remember that night so clearly because I had food poisoning and was throwing up while trying to read Amal a bedtime story. Zayen wasn't home. He said he had a client dinner. And I believed him. But the receipt told another story. Table for two. A shared dessert. 2 glasses of red wine. A 1 a.m. checkout time. My stomach nodded. I didn't confront him. Not right away. Instead, I folded the receipt and slipped it into the back of my diary. I told myself it was probably nothing. Maybe it was a client dinner. Maybe he wasn't lying. But deep down, something started to fracture inside me. The next few days, I watched him like a stranger. The way he smiled at his phone. How quickly he shut his laptop when I entered the room. How distant his hugs felt, like his arms remembered the motion but forgot the meaning. I started noticing other things too. He began taking late-night walks, against something he hadn't done in years. He put a password on his phone. And then, one night, as I walked into the kitchen for a glass of water, I heard him on a call. His voice was low, soft, too soft. The kind of voice you reserve for someone you're trying to keep a secret with. I didn't catch much, just a whisper. Yeah, I miss you too. My heart didn't break in that moment. It sank. Because even though I didn't have the full picture, I knew what it meant. He was somewhere else, emotionally, mentally, and maybe even physically. Still, I didn't scream. Didn't throw things. Didn't cry in front of him. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I kissed the kids goodnight. I played my role. Because if I was losing him, I needed to know exactly why. I needed to be sure. So I started watching more closely. When he said he had to work late, I noted the times. When he went for walks, I checked how long they lasted. And one night, God help me, I followed him. I left the kids with my sister, told him I had a headache, and 20 minutes after he left, I took the car and drove quietly behind him. I didn't know what I expected to see. A hotel room? Another woman's house? But where he ended up, it made my blood run cold. It wasn't a hotel. It wasn't a woman's home. It was something worse. Something that would unravel everything I thought I knew about my husband. But I wasn't ready to face it. Not yet. So I turned around, went home, and waited. Because I needed more than suspicion. I needed truth. And somehow, I knew it was coming. Whether I wanted it or not. I started second-guessing everything. Every smile. Every silence. Every time he touched my hand. Was it real? Or was he just keeping up appearances? Each time he said, "I love you," it echoed like a hollow shell of the words it used to be. I found myself looking at him, really looking at him, as if trying to read his face like a map that could lead me back to the truth. But truth is a cruel, shifting thing when you're drowning in doubt. There were moments when I almost convinced myself I was overthinking. He'd come home, kiss Amal on the forehead, ruffle Danielle's hair, ask me how my day was like he always did. And I'd think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being paranoid. But then I'd remember the receipt. The whispered phone call. The place he went that night I'd followed him. I couldn't stop thinking about it. He drove to a rented apartment on the other side of town. Not a hotel. Not an office. A cozy, one-bedroom place in a quiet building. He had keys. And I had questions. Was that where he went to be alone? Or was it not his alone at all? The image played in loops in my mind. Him unlocking the door and someone waiting inside. Someone who made him smile the way I used to. Someone who made him forget us. But the worst part wasn't what he was doing. It was why he never told me. Why didn't he just say, I'm not happy? Why not say, I need space? Why lie? One night, I sat across from him at the dinner table while the kids giggled over spilled juice. He was scrolling his phone, pretending to be present, and I stared at him, wondering, does he even see me anymore? Or am I just furniture now? Zayon, I said quietly. He looked up. Are you okay? You seem distracted lately. He smiled, but it didn't touch his eyes. Just work. You know how it is. There it is again. The lie. Clean. Casual. Practiced. I nodded. Right. Work. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to scream, who is she? Where do you go? Why are you slipping away from me piece by piece while I'm still standing here, trying to be everything for this family? But instead, I just smiled. Because the kids were watching. That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat in the dark with a hot cup of tea and a heavier heart. My mind played tricks on me memories flickering like a broken projector. His laugh the first time he held them all. The way he kissed my forehead when I cried after my father's funeral. That one night we danced barefoot in the living room, no music, just us. Where did that man go? I looked at our wedding photo on the shelf. He was smiling so wide. So was I. We looked invincible. Now I couldn't even recognize the man sleeping next to me. I thought about checking his phone. I even reached for it once while he was in the shower. But something stopped me. If I go looking and find the truth, what then? What will I do with it? I was scared. Not of what he was doing, but of what it would mean for my children. Their father. Their home. Their safety. I wasn't just a wife. I was a mother. And mothers don't get the luxury of falling apart. But the weight of not knowing was suffocating. I was a prisoner of my own silence. And the worst part? He didn't even notice. I started talking to myself more, whispering doubts into the mirror like secrets. Am I imagining this? Is he still mine? Do I even want him to be? Sometimes I watched him sleep, wondering what dreams he escaped to and whether they included me. One afternoon, Amal asked, Mama, why is Baba always gone now? I blinked back tears. He's just busy, John. She nodded, then whispered, but I miss when he was funny. So did I. I missed the version of him who held my hand in crowded places. The one who called me just to hear my voice. The man who once cried when he saw our daughter for the first time. Now, I didn't know what he felt, if he felt anything at all. But I knew this much. Something was unraveling. And soon, I'd have to choose dig for the truth and risk everything. Or keep pretending and lose myself completely. It happened on a Tuesday. The kind of ordinary day that should have come and gone without consequence. The kids were at school. Zion was working late, and I was unraveling. I couldn't take the silence anymore. The waiting. The pretending. The haunting question I kept avoiding. What is he hiding? So I made a decision. I waited until he left. Gave him a 20-minute head start. Then I got into my car, heart pounding against my ribs like a drum, and followed him. Again. But this time, I didn't stop halfway. I parked a street away from that apartment he kept going to. Watched as he walked up with ease, using his keys like he belonged there. No hesitation. No looking over his shoulder. Like it was his home. His other life. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. 15. And then the door opened. My breath caught. She stepped out. A woman. Mid-30s. Beautiful. Effortless. Wearing one of his old hoodies, the navy one I bought him last winter. The one I hadn't seen in weeks. She wasn't just a fling. She was comfortable. She handed him something, a file or an envelope. I couldn't tell. Then she leaned in, touched his face like she knew every inch of it, and kissed him. Not a stolen kiss. Not guilty. Not rushed. A kiss that belonged. A kiss with history behind it. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I felt like the world had paused, but my heart didn't get the memo. It was still racing, still shattering, still screaming. He smiled after the kiss, said something that made her laugh. And then he walked inside with her, like a man returning home. I sat there, numb, hands gripping the steering wheel, nails digging into the leather. Tears spilled, hot and furious, but I didn't sob. I just sat still, letting the weight of the truth crush every last excuse I had left. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't stress. This wasn't confusion. This was deliberate. He had built something with her. While I was fighting to hold our family together, he was creating another world, one I wasn't invited into. I drove home in silence. I didn't pick up the kids. I asked my sister to do it. I couldn't face anyone, not even my children. Not with this storm inside me. When Zion came home later that night, everything in me wanted to scream. To throw the keys at his face. To show him the pictures I'd taken from the car. Yes, I'd taken photos. I don't even remember doing it. My hands acted before my mind could process. But I didn't confront him. Not yet. Because something in me changed the moment I saw that woman. This wasn't just about cheating. It was about lies. Choices. Living two lives while pretending to be mine. And now, I needed answers. Not the ones he was ready to give. The real ones. I began to dig. Quietly. I searched our bank records, found transfers to an unknown account, looked up that apartment's address. It was leased under his cousin's name, someone I hadn't seen in years. A clever cover. And then I found something that made my blood run cold. A birth certificate. From 3 years ago. The father's name, Zion Ahmed. The mother, her. And the child, a boy. A boy the same age as Daniel. Born while we were still very much together. He didn't just cheat. He didn't just lie. He had another family. I waited until the kids were asleep. I sat on the edge of our bed, the birth certificate in my lap, the receipt, the photos, the truth spread out like shattered glass on the mattress. Every piece of evidence that said, your husband is not who you thought he was. Zion came in around 11, loosened his tie like he hadn't just kissed another woman 2 hours ago. He didn't even look at me. Just mumbled, long day, and reached for the light switch. Don't, I said, my voice low. He froze, turned slowly. That's when he saw it. The papers, the photo of him holding hands with her, the receipt from Orem, and the birth certificate center stage. His face drained of color. I stared at him. Say something. Ariba, don't lie. He opened his mouth again, but I stood up before he could speak. You lied to me. For years. You held my hand and built a life with me, while you were building another one behind my back. He stepped closer. Please. I can explain what, Zayn? I snapped. My voice shook, but I didn't care. Explain how you got her pregnant while I was carrying our son? How you signed a lease on a second home while I was holding this one together with blood and prayers? He looked down. Ashamed. Caught. Pathetic. I held up the birth certificate. You have a child, another child, and you never told me. His eyes welled up. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was going to tell why, I just didn't know how. Don't you dare insult me with that. My voice broke, and so did something inside me. I thought I'd scream. Thought I'd throw things. But the rage didn't feel loud anymore, it felt quiet. Sharp. Cold. Controlled. I walked to the closet and pulled out a suitcase. That's when he panicked. Ariba, please, don't do this. The kids, don't talk about the kids. I snapped. You weren't thinking about them when you were sneaking off every Thursday night. He reached for me, but I stepped back. "I loved you, Zayan," I whispered. "God, I trusted you. I would have forgiven one mistake, a night, even a fling. But this? You made a whole other life and fed me lies for 3 years." Tears spilled down his face. "I didn't plan it, but you maintained it." He dropped to his knees. "I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want to hurt you." I stared down at him, broken and begging, and realized something terrifying. He still didn't get it. He was sorry for being caught, sorry for the outcome, but he wasn't sorry for what he'd done. He had justified it to himself, built a reality where this was okay, where I'd forgive him. "Stay. Play house." I bent down, met his eyes, and said softly, "You already lost me, Zayn. You just didn't notice." He reached out again, desperate. "Please, please don't take the kids away from me." I blinked back fresh tears. "You should have thought of them before you became someone I can't even let into their future." And then, I did something I never thought I would. I left him there, on his knees, surrounded by the wreckage of his own choices. I walked out of that room, closed the door behind me, and tucked my babies into bed because they still had school in the morning. And because life, heartbreak or not, keeps going. The morning after I confronted Zion, everything felt still. The kind of stillness that follows a storm, not peaceful, just eerily quiet. The kind that leaves you sitting in the rubble, wondering how long it'll take to rebuild. Wondering if you even want to. I made the kids breakfast like nothing happened. Smiled as denial asked for more Nutella. Tied Nora's ponytail the way she liked it. Dropped them to school with a kiss and a promise. Mama's not going anywhere. And I wasn't. Not for them. But Zayn, he was already gone. He left that morning without a word. Didn't even try to talk again. Maybe he finally realized there was nothing left to say. Maybe he knew I wasn't just angry was done. In the weeks that followed, I filed for separation. Quietly. No drama. No warning. Just the papers delivered to his new apartment, his other life. He tried calling. Sent long texts about how he was sorry and how it wasn't what it looked like. How he wanted to make it right. But how do you fix a lie that was never an accident? I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on healing. On me. I started therapy. Pulled my story out loud for the first time in a small warm room that smelled like lavender and rain. I cried in front of a stranger, and it helped. I began journaling. Each page soaked with pain, then hope, then anger, then peace. The cycle repeated, but with time, the anger stayed less. The peace stayed longer. I returned to work. Not just to escape, but to remember who I was before I was just his wife. I wore colors again. I laughed, genuinely, for the first time in months when Daniel told me I make better chicken nuggets than Papa's lady friend. God, kids really do see everything. One evening, 3 months after it all crumbled, Zion showed up at the door. I was folding laundry. My hands didn't even pause. He looked smaller. Not physically, but diminished. Like he was carrying something he could never put down. "Arriba," he said, voice unsure. "Can we talk?" I nodded, stepped outside, closed the door behind me. He didn't deserve to be near my peace. "I miss you," he said. I stayed silent. He ran a hand through his hair. "I miss the kids. I miss our life. I made a mistake. The biggest one. I was selfish. I see that now." I looked him dead in the eye. "No, Zion, you didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. Repeatedly." He opened his mouth, but I held up a hand. "And I made mine," I continued. "To protect myself. To protect my children. And to never again build a life where I'm the only one holding the foundation." His eyes glossed over. "You won't even try again?" "I did," I whispered. "Every time you lied, every time you said you were working late, every time I stayed up crying, still defending you in my heart, I tried, alone, and I won't do that again." There was nothing left to say. He nodded, slowly, then turned around, walked away. And just like that, the last thread snapped. Later that night, I sat in my bed, watching my children sleep. Their soft breathing, their little fists curled, their innocence intact. They didn't need to know the whole story, not yet. But one day, they would. And when they asked me why I stayed strong, why I left, why I didn't break down, when everything did he tell them? Because Mama froze time. Because while your father walked out to live in the moment, I held us together. I stitched the broken pieces. I didn't just survive, I rebuilt. And maybe, just maybe, that was the most powerful love story of all. The one I wrote for myself. The end